Thank you guys so much for joining me today for another episode of Corona Chronicles Live. I am excited to have another guest with me here in the Atlanta area. We have Mr. James Moore. We're going to get into some great topics about being positive, moving forward, and some of the ups and downs when it comes to business, which, right now we know a lot about ups and downs with all the things that are going on in the media right now, but was really happy to connect with him through LinkedIn and have him come and join us today to share his insights because during this time, we can't have enough positive news, enough practical ways that we can implement better mindset, positivity, you name it. I mean, I just am all for that type of thinking. So at this time, I'm going to give James the floor to introduce himself before we get into the interview.
Hello, everyone. I'm James Moore, retired Navy chief, did 20 years in the United States Navy, taught high school for 9 years, been a resident of Atlanta, Georgia since 2001, originally from Gary, Indiana. Went,
What?
went to West Side High School, class of 84. And my undergraduate is in computer information systems from St. Leo University. And I have a double graduate degree, one in instructional design and technology and one in public policy.
Awesome. So, I'm from Indiana. I was born in Bloomington, believe it or not. My parents
Okay.
met at IU, and I was raised in Indianapolis.
All right. Who's
Yeah, so we moved here to Georgia in 2004.
Yeah, we got here in 2001. My last duty station was here in Atlanta at
Hmm.
the ROTC Atlanta Consortium, which is
Oh.
Georgia Tech, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, Spell,
Hmm.
and Morris Brown before it actually, had its.
Right.
But I couldn't wait to move from Indiana because Gary, of course, is 30 miles outside of Chicago. And I
Hmm.
was shoveling the snow one day. It was 10 below zero, and I said, I can't wait to move to someplace warm.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, when we moved here, I'm like, man, what were we thinking? You just live there and just get comfortable. Don't even think about going anywhere else. After we moved, I was like, man, I wasted a lot of time dealing with a lot of cabin fever, being locked in the house. So yeah, I get that. So the Navy, that is quite a life. Were you a full-time reserves? How was that arrangement with the Navy?
Full-time active duty.
Okay.
Did 20 years and retired.
Mhm.
A big part of that was um, I've been married now almost 30 years.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank you. So
Mhm.
my wife has followed me all over the world, literally.
Mhm.
One of the things that I've encouraged her to do is start a podcast for military wives because
Definitely.
she understands the journey, the sacrifice that it takes, put your career on hold. And
Mhm.
real quickly, um, we were coming from overseas. We had orders to Texas. Um,
Mhm.
my orders were changed from Texas to Virginia. They didn't have housing available. So
Mm.
I had to drive with 3 kids from Texas to Virginia and then back to Gary. And I had to fly.
Mm.
So, we always tell that story. She drove from Texas to Virginia to Gary, Indiana on one tank of gas with 3 kids.
Wow. I
So,
know the feeling. That was me. I think we had 7 kids. My husband was stationed here at Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia, and I had to drive with all the kids being pregnant. I was
wow.
traveling here to meet him, but he was a reservist. So
Okay.
it was a hardship tour that brought us to Georgia because the baby was born in July, but he got moved here. No, we moved in July. He was stationed here in May. And I was like,
Mhm.
I am not going to be doing this by myself with 7 kids and being pregnant too. Hardship is right. We're going to be coming right here with you. So that's how we originally got to Georgia. Hmm. So
Thank you and your husband for your service. I always tell people when they say thank you for your service to me if my wife is with me. I'm like, you need to thank her too because
so true.
she sacrificed as much as I did.
So true. And you don't know what you're getting into. You know what I'm saying? You don't have anybody to call. Only the wives can commiserate. And I don't want to just make it all about the wives because there's men,
Absolutely.
who their wives
Spouses.
are,
Mhm.
yeah. But it's just like your life has turned this pandemic, I'm sure it's a drop in the bucket in so many ways about the rug being pulled up underneath you and just things
Mhm.
changing at a moment's notice. And just as a story you mentioned where they had to drive to Gary because, things changed just with no notice. You have to learn how to be a good soldier, whether you actually have on the uniform or you're on the front lines as a spouse, to do what it takes to make everything work out.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons why I encourage my wife to do her own podcast is because in the first time we were overseas, we were stationed in Iceland, and
Mm.
it's from Gary, Indiana as well. So she's a city dweller, and
Mhm.
Iceland is a beautiful country. People don't realize how beautiful it is. And one of the things that allowed us to be successful over there, because overseas military divorce rate is high, is that
Mm.
she said, "You've taken me away from my mother. I'm going to talk to her every day." So one of the sacrifices we made was she called her mom whenever she wanted to
Mhm.
a day. And I tell the story all the time. We would pay our bills at the end of the month. We would pay for
Mhm.
groceries, gas, and everything, but the phone bill would be four, five, six, $700. But that money spent improved our quality of life and strengthened our.
Mm.
That was something
Mhm.
that she needed, because I did take her around the world,
Mhm.
away from with 3 kids, away from her mom, and
Mhm.
you know, looking back, it was money well spent. And
Mhm.
those are you know my experiences and my wife's experiences that we talk about to younger couples in the military on how they can survive, what sacrifices they need to make for their quality of life, mental health, uh,
Mhm.
being able to cope with isolation, because even though you may be around a lot of people, you still can feel isolated if you don't know anyone, if you don't have any
Mhm.
connections, roots to the community, you can still
Mhm.
be isolated. So, one of the things I did to help us in our relationship, because once you become a military spouse, male or female, it's a partnership.
Mhm.
One of the things we did to be successful in that partnership is that I supported her in her career efforts. If she was going back to school or trying to start a career, I supported her in that. But also, I infused her into the military side of it too. I taught her about the military pay system, the resources that were available, who to
Mhm.
contact in case of an emergency, where you go on base to get the ID cards, where you go on base to
Mhm.
the healthcare providers, who do you talk to about housing? So
Mhm.
it got to the point to where some of my fellow sailors were a little upset because we get some of these additional pays and allowances, clothing allowance. And so I taught my wife how to read my leave and earning statement so that
Mhm.
if I'm deployed, she knows what money should be coming into the house. She knows if the dollars don't make sense, who to call at personnel and say, "Hey, my husband clothing allowance didn't show up this month." Well,
Amen.
some of the other guys were saying, "Hey, man, my wife never knew about my clothing allowance. You spilling the
You
beans."
telling stuff. I know that was their little money to do what they wanted to do. I feel you on that. Hey, but I understand. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's great though.
it's a partnership because
Mhm.
know, I got the best advice I ever got when I first joined the military. This guy who was getting ready to retire, he said, "I'm looking forward to retirement because I'm looking forward to spending more time with my family." And he said, I dedicated and committed my professional life to the military, but I
Mhm.
also made sure that I invested and was dedicated and committed to my family because I knew the military was going to go away. And
Mhm.
I took that advice, and applied it to my marriage, and we were able to make it through. It wasn't always easy,
Mhm.
but we made it through, understanding that partnership, that the military is going to go away one day, but we're going to wake up and still be right there with each other. And we got to make sure we invest in this thing called our marriage.
Absolutely. And, this is a good segue into a lot of people are like that about their careers because, they've been doing whatever for how long. But now with this pandemic, that job has been eliminated or it's being
Mhm.
changed. They have to reinvent themselves. And I guess the question is more like reintroducing yourself, the situation maybe with your family because you were used to being away and that process of once you did retire, reintegrating and reinventing what life looked like post military. So for somebody who is going through that, it may not be the military, but just with their own job and the situation they're dealing with right now, what would you advise them to do, to help through that process?
That's a great question. And one of the things that has helped us, and it all starts from when I came back from deployment or
Mhm,
overseas, and the family would be in their routine. They would be doing
mhm,
things that life goes on when you're away. So
mhm,
when I came back, one of the things I had to learn was to find out exactly where the family is right now, because your kids are older, your wife is different. So it was sort of like double dutch. You have to, and then jump in when you can in order to keep the rope going. And,
mhm,
and one of the things we would do is I would come home and see where I could help out, because I know my wife has been
mhm,
dealing with the kids 6, 7 months while I'm on deployment. Where can I help out? What does she need help with? Let me create some special moments for us to start dating
mhm,
again. Let me spend more time with the kids, learning about how things are going with school, what's going on in their lives. And it was a process. It was really a process. And
mhm,
I learned the hard way. The first time I came back from deployment and I came in, I said, "Hey, why are y'all doing this? What's going on?" My wife said, "Hey, hey, 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 you been gone. Don't come in here thinking, you know what's going on and you're gonna change something." So, we talked about that and I learned from that process. And for people in this situation right now with COVID, um,
mhm,
it is important, especially if you live alone. It is important to have a what I call a mental support group, where
mhm,
it could be, you, a sister, a friend, a brother, your mother, and you talk for 30 minutes, an hour a day. And
mhm,
I got that idea from my wife. My wife, even though we're here in the same house, my wife every night calls her mother, her siblings, and her nieces and nephews and my children, and they get on and they play word scramble. They do
mhm,
other different things, and it really helps to take your mind off of the situation you're in. It really helps to improve that mental wellness, stay connected to family,
mhm,
and professionally. What you have to do is figure out some new techniques and strategies to be engaged and make yourself relevant, make your presence known. And
mhm,
I'm not saying that you have to be involved in everything, but
mhm,
translating from the office, if you were a person who was in specific meetings in the office, you want to make sure you continue in those meetings, that you are a part of those meetings. If you were a person in the office that was involved in employee engagement, you want to make sure that you're still involved in those things. In this environment in COVID, we
mhm,
have a tendency to unplug from some of the other extracurricular activities from our job, because we have more time now to focus on our core work. And
mhm,
one of the things that I do in the morning with my team is that I start off with a greeting we have Microsoft Teams. I start off with a Teams greeting. The first thing I say is, I hope you and your loved ones are safe and secure. We talk about some of the things we may need to do today. I'll ask for a one-word checkup. How you feeling? Is everyone okay? And that'll start a dialogue between just my team. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Later on during the day, I dialogue with my supervisor on issues. You know, before we could walk into someone's office, we could get up from our desk, you know, go to another floor, talk to two other individuals, and we have to figure out new ways to be able to still have that professional connection, that professional interaction, but we have to do it now through technology, being
Mm-hmm.
more strategic, more deliberate in how we do it. And you know, one of the things that I always encourage my team to do, aside from that, is to unplug. We have a tradition on our team where at 2:30 in the afternoon, everyone gets up, no matter what they're doing. They
Mm-hmm.
unplug and they just go. They can, if the weather's bad, they sit, you know, and look out the window, or they may read a book, or they go for a walk, and then we'll meet back up at 3:30, and we'll just in minutes talk about what did you do, you know, what did you see, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll get back to work. But just being creative and thinking of ways to still have that engagement professionally, and then also on the personal side, being able to stay connected to your friends, your loved ones, because you know you're not inviting people over anymore for large gatherings. You know, you're not having a house full of people, big barbecues, but you can use technology to stay connected. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to figure out those better ways. I'll end with this one other thing I'd like to add to your question. My wife is much smarter than I am, and one of the things that she did, her and her girlfriends got together,
Mm-hmm.
and they would go up to the parking lot at Publix. They would park their cars. They wouldn't get out their cars, and they would just sit and talk and have a girls' night out right there in the parking lot. And the girl, they would just chat about what was going on, talk about family, laugh, because they couldn't do it, you know, going to a restaurant or
Right.
going to somebody's house. But she was creative, and you know, I got kind of envious. I'm like, I'm gonna call some of my buddies and see, hey man, y'all want to get together? Just, you know, maybe get together and shoot the breeze. But it's looking at those creative ways to stay
Mm-hmm.
engaged, to keep that mental and emotional health strong. And you know, we're in a different environment. And
Mm-hmm.
the reality is, you know, we have to be flexible. We have to be versatile. And we have to figure out new ways to move forward until we get back to whatever normal looks like.
I love that. And it's just so key how you are in touch and engaged with your team, because so many times we try so hard to ignore certain things that are happening in life and try to have a business as usual compartmentalized mindset on some things. So it's like work is this is at home, we just don't mix the two. So it's so important now we have a platform to where we can mix them, and there's some people that still don't want to. It can really relieve things and make things run a lot smoother when you do take into account how you can blend them.
Yeah, my grandmother was a very wise woman. And
Mhm.
she used to tell me all the time, you know, people will not remember your name. They might not remember your face, your address, your phone number. They might not remember the last time they met you, but they will for sure remember how you treated them.
Mhm.
And
So
and
true.
and so for me, I have a different perspective on professional life, and I think it's born from a over the course of being in the workforce for a long time, a very high emotional intelligence. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, um, I don't know why you and your brother are arguing over whose idea is the best. You should be arguing over the best idea. And so I've always had that philosophy, you know, I don't need to be right. You know, my
Mhm.
wife would disagree and say, you know, you always think you're right. But I professionally, I don't need to be right. So I'm gonna argue for the right idea. The other part to that, as I mentioned previous, is that the current employer I have,
Mm-hmm.
I don't own anything. The desk, the computer, the chair, I own nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
what I do own is the legacy that I'll leave there professionally by the people I've interacted with and the lives that I've touched. And I try not to focus on um, just the work aspect because
Mm-hmm.
we're human and we all are adults. We know we have a job to do. The company is paying us to perform a task, and we've agreed to that. But I believe that you should not come to a place of employment for 8, 9, 10 hours and be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother used to say, I'm not going to go to work and be in hell and then come home and be in hell. And so, what I try to do is to have a sense of service, for my team when I'm at work. I want my team to be excited about coming to work. I want my team to be excited about the work that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that means that I have to go one layer below our professional relationship. I have to learn what your interests are. I have to learn what your family life is like because I need to be able to support you professionally and personally. If you need to take time off for a child, a spouse, for your own health, I want to make sure that I'm part of the solution that can help you and support you in taking care of your needs along with being able to maintain your livelihood. So for me, a lot of people, and again, this comes from the military. I've been in charge enough to last for a lifetime. That's not the focus. And I've had some great leaders in the military who taught me that leadership is not about being able to tell people what to do. Leadership is about service. So for the folks that I work with, my peers, my team, I want to know, they may say, yeah, James was a okay employee, but he was a great person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that legacy will,
Mm-hmm.
will do more for the agency and do more for your relationships at work.
Mm-hmm. So true. I mean, that's some great stuff. And I love how you have a spirit of intention when you're going to work. So many times we have this idea that, oh, you know what? I want this, I want that. But we're not willing to do the work to manifest it. You can't
Mhm.
just come up with an idea, talk about an idea, and think it's going to magically appear. You have to be intentional about the work that you do. So this is wonderful. I mean, I could go on for hours talking because you've given us some great nuggets. And I'm trying to be slick and take a few notes over here because I'm a note taker. But what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
um, right now, I'm not really big on social media, and that's because I try to be intentional in what I do. So right now, I am on LinkedIn. If you want to go on LinkedIn and look, James A. Moore. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also on Twitter, and if you want to reach out by email, jamore7295 at gmail.com. I
Mm-hmm.
do respond to email. Real quickly, a couple of things I want to say. One, um, I believe in giving back. So right now, I have a group called League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where there are some senior and young professionals, and we get together once a month. We talk about being a Black professional in corporate America, how you navigate through some of those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And I also participate in some panels for Georgia State and mentor some of the graduate students that are coming out looking for careers, do some professional resume building, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to tell a quick story, um,
Yeah.
and this is where my professional philosophy comes from. I was in
Mm-hmm.
class one day, and we were right at the end of the school year, and one of my class comedians said, "Chief Moore, man." You always happy. You always smiling. Every time people ask you how you doing, you say it's the best day of your life. Can't nobody be that happy. And I said, let me tell you what the difference is. I said, I have problems too in my life. I said, my back hurt right now. I got car problems. I got bills to pay. I got things to do. I said, but while I'm standing here as your educator, your mom and dad ain't paying taxes to the county to pay me to tell you about my problems, to tell you what's going on with my life. They expect me to bring my best each and every day. And if I don't bring my best each and every day to you, then I'm doing you a disservice and I'm not giving you what you need. And he was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because I don't want to hear about your problems, no way.
That is a good one. I mean, a lot of people need to hear that. That is so true because what you focus on grows. I'm the same way. It's like, yeah, I got 8 kids homeschooling. Some of them act up. They fuss and argue. But if I'm on a live, is that encouraging? Do people want to hear that? They're going to be quickly flipping.
Right.
I don't want to hear that. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I got my own problems. I don't want to hear yours.
So I love that we have to show up. And I think when people just have that mindset, you're showing up. People expect you to come and bring your A game when you're coming. So all that stuff doesn't matter. Nobody is concentrating on that. Let's just handle the business at hand. So I appreciate that. That's a great reminder. So I'm gonna keep my problems quiet.
Yeah, I mean it's a simple thing. If you were running a business and your employees were running your business, you are paying them to get the business conducted.
Right.
Don't bother them on their time. You're paying them to get the business conducted, and you expect them to bring, their best because this is what you agreed on. They agreed to the compensation, and you want the best. So, I've never been one to worry about what my pay was, what my title was, because I believed in my work philosophy, my work ethic, and my grandmother said people will not invest in you if you are not investing in yourself. So
Amen.
I always want to show that I'm, improving, trying to be the best professional I can. And I believe, that will carry you farther than anything else. Character, integrity, trust, your word, and I think that'll carry you farther than anything. And my grandmother, she preached that.
Amen. That's a great word. So we just want to thank you for all these golden nuggets you've given us and appreciate your time and glad we got connected. It's amazing how, through LinkedIn, we both from Indiana and end up on a interview. So thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure. Let me say one last thing.
Mhm.
My grandmother used to say this also. She said that people don't meet by chance. Every experience, every decision they've made, every move they made brings you to a point to where now you're ready to meet. So it was our time for us to meet. This is the point we should have met at. A year ago or a year ahead would have been the wrong time. This is our time.
Amen. All right. Well, hey, I've been taking notes. I'm gonna go back and get some more nuggets from this video. Okay.
It's
But
been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much.
thank you. And you guys, I'm encourage you to reach out to James. Great values, great beliefs. This is somebody that you need to align with as you are sitting here thinking about all this gloom and doom, negativity that's going on in this world. We can choose to be happy. We can choose to show up, invest in ourselves, and we can dictate our future based on our behavior. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see y'all the next time.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.